Revealed. The incredible transformation of a Chinese widow who defied all odds to survive. Mei Ling's hands trembled as she threaded the last of her workday through the cacophony of machinery around her. The clamor of the factory felt like a relentless tide dragging her beneath, each clang echoing her shattered dreams. With the death of her husband, her once stable world fractured, leaving her to navigate the storms of a chaotic Chicago. Now in the twilight of her struggle, emptiness loomed large in her heart as her rebellious daughter Mia slipped further into shadows of despair. At home, Mei Ling would find remnants of laughter, photos of picnics and birthday cakes scattered across surfaces, now tainted by the gnawing burden of overdue bills. Each night's work dragged her soul into deeper fatigue, a fight for survival while yearning for moments of connection with Mia. But as the girl huddled in silence, freckles of despair marred her spirited face, leaving Mei Ling to wonder if she was losing more than just her grip on their future. In whispered conversations at home, Mei Ling sensed Mia's constant tension, the struggle to balance her Chinese heritage with the roles of schoolyard ridicule. Each evening, she returned from grueling night shifts, shoulders sagging under the weight of doubt. Did she have the strength to hold both herself and her daughter together? Just as she contemplated retreating into familiar rhythms, an unexpected flicker of hope crossed her path. A flyer caught her eye during a break, promising an evening class for aspiring legal assistants. Her heart raced with daring thoughts of what could be. Imagine a life filled with purpose. Inspired by her late husband's passion for justice, she scribbled down the details, eager to rekindle the fire of ambition, long extinguished by despair. Yet, as the embers sparked, Mei Ling's stomach tightened with fear. A woman of color entering the legal arena? Would they see her labor as nothing more than a distraction? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Determined to embrace this unexpected challenge, she reached out to apply, facing rejections that cut deep. At the factory, a colleague openly disparaged her efforts, labeling her contributions as mere footnotes in someone else's story. Heart sinking like stone in water, Mei Ling wrestled with self-doubt, dark patterns clouding her mind. Was she really cut out for this fight? As she prepared for a potential interview, a retired attorney noticed her unease, and from the shadows of her discontent emerged a mentor. With kind eyes, she inspired Mei Ling to raise her voice against those who belittled her ambitions. But the path was fraught with danger. Glaring eyes from both peers and authority figures weighed heavy on her shoulders. Backstabbing whispers echoed in hallways, an insidious plot to derail her blossoming aspirations. Each attempt to rise felt like a cruel reminder of her outsider status, vulnerability creeping in as she ventured into her new world. Just as she stood on the precipice of losing everything, the courtroom loomed ahead, doors creaking like her heartbeat, a space where dreams would either materialize or dissolve into the nothingness that had consumed her life. Would she summon the courage to confront the oppressive biases stalking her? With an unsettling knot twisting in her chest, Mei Ling felt the crushing weight of uncertainty pressing down as the stakes of her dreams soared higher than ever before, leaving the fate of her family hanging in the balance. In the days leading up to her first class, Mei Ling found herself balancing the weight of anticipation with shadows of dread. Each time she glanced at the worn flyer, the bold letters of aspiring legal assistants hovered in her mind like a haunting promise. She could almost feel the pulse of hope, but it was the fear of judgment that suffocated her. What if she faltered in front of seasoned professionals? At the factory, each machine's grind reminded her of the relentless grind of her life. She grasped the moment after the shift ended, swallowed by a sense of urgency to prepare for the impending class. Deep down, she longed to find a way to reconcile her identity as a mother and a burgeoning professional. It was no longer just about her dreams. It was about Mia's future as well. Through the haze of doubt, Mei Ling explored the intricacies of the law on evenings that wore into mornings. She studied until her eyes burned, poring over legal terminology and case studies like sacred texts. It felt like breathing life into a dormant spirit, but with every page turned, a looming fear whispered in her ear. You don't belong here. The weight of her cultural identity pressed against her resolve. Mia's silence returned at her feet, heavy and full of unspoken words. Each time Mei Ling attempted to share her newfound enthusiasm, the spark in Mia's eyes flickered and dimmed. She couldn't ignore the feeling that her daughter caroused in darkness, struggling to openly grapple with the pressure of their circumstances. The day of her first class arrived, illuminated by a mix of excitement and visceral anxiety. Walking into the room, her heart raced like an errant drum. A sea of faces greeted her, some curious, others apathetic. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their stares. It took everything in her to steer clear of retreating into the shadows again, but the room buzzed with energy, and for the first time in a long while, she felt something awakening within her. The instructor, a fierce but encouraging woman, fostered an atmosphere of inquiry. As discussions flourished, Mei Ling resolved not to fade into the background. With shaky hands, she raised her voice, sharing her perspective on a recent case study, weaving in her own experiences. The initial wave of surprise washed over the faces in the room, briefly halting their chatter. In those moments, Mei Ling realized that her background, while often seen as an obstruction, provided an invaluable lens to view the law, a crossroads of understanding that no textbook could offer. The instructor's approving nod lit a small fire inside her. As the class progressed, what started as nervous contributions solidified into bold assertions. She fought to reclaim her narrative through every challenge, discovering an inner resolve previously extinguished by life's turmoil. Her transformation was not just about ambition, it became an assertion of identity. Yet, as she left the classroom each week, the good could not mask the growing distance with Mia. The once shared dreams of a prosperous future were lost in the shroud of grievance. Mei Ling began noticing Mia slipping further into isolation. Each confrontational silence felt like dark clouds converging on her motherly instincts. That night, as Mei Ling sat at the kitchen table, she ruminated over the day's lessons, her notebook strewn with notes and eager tremors, marked by the urgency to connect with her daughter. Should she pause her development for a moment to salvage the bond with Mia? The question clawed at her heart. Could she extend understanding to knit the fraying threads between their lives while chasing a future she could only partially grasp? As the clock ticked away, she stood at an inevitable crossroads, feeling the weight of two ambitions vying for her every heartbeat. The cry of the wind outside mirrored the internal storm. Would she crush her own dreams for the sake of her child's silence? And what consequences lay hidden in the forces pulling them apart? Perturbed, Mei Ling prepared for the next step that could alter their journey irrevocably. Would she dare confront the emotional chasm in their home? Or would she forge ahead, tethered to her own aspirations while Mia slipped away? The tension thickened, beckoning an answer as she once again peered into the uncertain future. With each passing day, the duality of Mei Ling's life deepened into an intricate tapestry of ambition and maternal instinct. The classroom provided her a sanctuary, a place where discussion sparked her intellect. Yet, as knowledge filled her, so did the gnawing awareness of her strained relationship with Mia. She awoke every morning to the dual callings of her dreams and her daughter. The factory work became a blur, each machine's roar a reminder of the sacrifices that had built a delicate fabric of their lives. In those moments between shifts, she contemplated the love notes from Mia that lay crumpled in her purse. Drawings that spoke of a bond now fraying at the edges. Each one depicted a different world. Glowing suns, vibrant gardens, unfurling the potential of childhood yet overshadowed by darkness. In class, she pushed herself further, engaging in discussions with increasingly fervent passion. The instructor recognized her evolving bravado. Mei Ling could feel her admirers swell, her confidence bitten from the frenetic buzz of the classroom. However, those accolades drifted into an echo chamber, hollow and fleeting when she returned home to Mia's silence. Shadows cloaked their evenings. Laughter and shared moments were replaced by walls thick with unresolved tension. One evening, As the weight of books pressed against her chest, Mei Ling made the decision to speak to Mia openly. "I know you've been distant. I want to help," she started, her voice breaking the chilling air that had settled between them. Their kitchen, once a nurturing space, now felt like a battleground. Mia looked down, tracing the patterns on the tabletop, a silent testament to her thoughts. "What do you know about helping?" Mia's voice quivered, yet it carried a weight of confrontation. "You've lost yourself to this, whatever it is you're doing. What about us?" Each word cut deeply, and Mei Ling felt herself drowning in remorse. Yet beneath the haze of guilt, a flicker of resolve ignited. This wasn't simply about her transformation. It was about their shared journey. "Mia, I'm trying to build a better future for us. I can't do that without knowing you're okay," she confessed, hoping to bridge the widening chasm. "No one wants to listen to me," Mia retorted, the rawness of her heart laid bare. In that moment, Mei Ling recognized the reflection of her own struggles in her daughter's pain. An awareness of their shared battle against isolation struck her profoundly. Understanding dawned. Their narratives intertwined, each fight informed the other's aspirations. Mei Ling realized she could no longer approach her own journey in isolation. It needed to encompass her daughter's emotional landscape. That night she resolved to invite Mia into her world, offering glimpses of her studies. Perhaps by involving her they could foster their bond anew. She gathered her materials, displaying them on the dining table like treasure maps adorned with forgotten dreams. "Mia, I want us to learn together," she said earnestly. "What if you helped me study? We can explore what the law means and how it could change our lives." Skepticism crossed Mia's features, but curiosity peeked through. "Why would you want me in that world?" Her voice was slightly softer, revealing a thread of hope buried beneath the fight. "Because I want you to see how this hustle, this fight for a better life affects us both." Mia hesitated, then nodded slowly, a crack in the darkness that isolated them. A tentative partnership hung in the air, a sliver of light tracing the contours of their relationship. As they began parsing through legal principles together, a warmth slowly unfurled between them where cold voices had once thrived. Yet Mei Ling couldn't ignore the echo of doubt that lingered. Could this new path truly intertwine their futures, or would it unravel under the weight of unspoken fears? The call of distant ambitions was still compelling, whispering promises into her ear. As days blurred into weeks, she felt a pivotal moment looming. Would she risk stepping back into solitude for the sake of this emerging unity, or charge forth into her burgeoning career, potentially leaving her daughter behind once more? The choice hung like a weight around her neck, each inhalation drawing her closer to a crossroad that promised to change everything. Mei Ling's days unfolded like a delicate balance on a tightrope, each footfall teetering between the exhilaration of academic achievements and the deepening connection with Mia. Their study sessions became a ritual. Every evening they would gather around the dining table, papers splayed out like a landscape that was beginning to feel familiar and inviting. The tension that had once wrapped around the air like a suffocating blanket now lifted, revealing fragments of laughter and shared insight. Yet internal echoes of doubt persisted. Sitting next to her daughter, Mei Ling often found herself questioning her capacity to juggle this newfound bond with the relentless pursuit of her career. Each legal case they analyzed was a thread weaving into the fabric of their relationship. But as she absorbed the complexity of the law, Mei Ling sensed the dual struggle knotting tighter in her chest. The battles fought in her mind were just as formidable as those in the classroom. Mia surprised her with insightful questions. Why should justice matter if we can't even afford basic needs? The bluntness of Mia's inquiry struck a chord. It forced Mei Ling to confront the complexities of their existence, components of privilege and hardship intersecting with the legal principles they studied. It was a question layers deep, resonating with Mei Ling's own internal conflict. "I understand," she responded, carefully gathering her thoughts. "But law is the first step to creating change. Without it, we are left powerless." Assessing her daughter's expression, Mei Ling realized they were digging deeper than mere study. They were excavating pain, hope, and the raw desire for agency. As these moments of connection unfolded, they led to an unsettling self-discovery for Mei Ling. The confidence building in the classroom contrasted starkly with the insecurity plaguing her at home. Could she maintain both roles, an ambitious student while nurturing her daughter's emotional needs? The weight of her dreams seemed to grow heavier, casting unsettling shadows over their partnership. The decision loomed before her like a cloud, dark and swirling. One afternoon she returned home early from class, the buzz of intellectual energy still coursing through her. Adventure and possibility shimmered in her mind, but as she opened the door, a hush filled the space. "Mama!" Mia's voice called, muffled by the closed bedroom door. The sound was soft, almost tentative. Mei Ling's heart sank. She stepped into the living room, only to find Mia curled up on the couch, tears staining her cheeks. "Mia, what's wrong?" Concern gripped Mei Ling and she rushed to her daughter's side, eager to comfort but uncertain how to breach the gaping silence. The moment was bittersweet, a reality where they both fought for understanding, yet struggled to articulate their distress. "What is it?" Mei Ling pressed gently. "I thought we were making progress." Mia tore her gaze away from the window, her features etched in fragility. "You're so consumed by this dream, and I'm just here. I feel lost, and I don't know how to be part of it. I want you to succeed, but what if you leave me behind?" Those words pierced Mei Ling straight to the core. The stark reflection of her daughter's fears mirrored her own anxieties, igniting a firestorm of self-examination. How could she claim to forge a path for them both when the grip of her ambitions threatened to take precedence over Mia's security? "Being here with you, it's where I want to be. I don't want to leave you behind," she avowed, her voice steadier than she felt inside. "But how can we navigate this together?" The air shifted as silence settled between them, a space for understanding to bloom anew. Despite the breakthrough, Mei Ling was acutely aware that this moment could just as easily slip away. Each passing day marked a delicate balance, filled with shifting priorities and unending doubt. The way forward was fraught with challenges, and a new unsettling thought took root. What if Mia's fears warped her own ambitions into shadows that chased her relentless pursuit of success? The haunting question loomed larger than ever. Was she on the verge of discovering not only the law but also the deepest truths about their lives? The corridors of academia called to her, but so too did the heart-wrenching reality of their relationship. As Mei Ling pondered their next steps, she understood now more than ever that ambition cannot be pursued in isolation. She needed Mia's voice, not merely as a sidekick in her journey, but as an equal partner navigating the complexities of their intertwined futures. This realization was absolutely crucial, yet a wave of trepidation rolled through her. What if this partnership anchored her, pulling her into the depths of responsibility and choice, when she longed for soaring above challenges? Tomorrow could be the day that defined everything. Would she choose to confront the narrative of her success and risk losing the spark of connection with Mia, or embrace the unfamiliarity of co-creation, risking failure but creating unity? The pivotal moment awaited, one whisper fanning the flame of anticipation. Could the fear of solitude spur an unexpected coalition that held the potential to change the course of their lives forever? The sun rose not as a harbinger of warmth, but as a reminder of the looming decisions weighing heavily on Mei Ling's heart. The air in their small apartment felt charged with a palpable tension, a stark contrast to the calm resolve she had fostered during their study sessions. She could almost taste the bitterness of uncertainty on her tongue. Sitting at the breakfast table, Mei Ling watched Mia absent-mindedly push her cereal around the bowl. The silence that hung in the air felt thick, oppressive, as if every thought had the potential to shatter the fragile peace they'd carved out the night before. Mei Ling's mind raced, grappling with the threads of her two lives, the burgeoning legal acumen she cherished, and the bond with Mia that seemed to fray with each moment spent scheming out arguments for her cases. "Can we talk about yesterday?" Mei Ling finally ventured, her voice laced with a mixture of trepidation and hope. She knew this was essential. The conversation needed to be deeper than the surface-level discussions of their homework. Mia looked up, her eyes betraying a flicker of vulnerability. "About you wanting to succeed." Mei-ling took a breath, the words feeling heavier than they should. "Yes, but it's more than that. I need to understand how we can support each other. You're not a distraction. You're part of my reason for wanting more." A pained expression crossed Mia's face, and Mei-ling recognized the struggle within her daughter. It was a reflection of her own, the yearning for independence intertwined with a deep-seated fear of solitude. "What does that mean for me?" Mia asked, a tremor in her voice. "You keep saying you want to bring me with you, but it feels like you're moving ahead and I'm just stuck." Each word felt like a knife, but Mei-ling welcomed the discomfort. This was the confrontation they so desperately needed. "I want you to grow with me. We can do this together, but I need you to be honest about your feelings, your fears." Mia's defenses faltered as she hesitated. Finally, she spoke. "What if I'm not good enough to keep up with you? What if I can't be as strong?" In that moment, Mei-ling's heart swelled and broke. A realization surged through her that the battle wasn't merely academic. This was about their identities, their growth as people in a world that both empowered and constrained them. "Mia, you must know that strength isn't measured in accomplishments alone. It's in the willingness to confront your fears, to learn alongside me, struggle with me. You are enough." An air of quiet understanding enveloped them. It was a tentative step toward redefining their relationship. They spent the remainder of the day diving into legal scenarios, but it felt different now. Mei-ling weaved Mia's concerns into the fabric of their discussions, making them tangible rather than abstract, grounding their studies in purpose and shared experience. The dynamics shifted. The classroom transformed into a shared arena, where both their voices mattered. Yet this resurgence of connection sparked another contemplation within Mei-ling. She began to wonder if she was voicing her ambition in a way that empowered Mia, or if the weight of her dream still eclipsed her daughter's budding passions. What if Mia craved something entirely different than what Mei-ling envisioned for her? Was it too late to pivot? Mei-ling scribbled notes, strategizing how to not only enlighten Mia about the law but also reveal the intricacies of their shared journey through learning, a template of growth that could embrace both their aspirations. As night fell, exhaustion began to settle in. Mei-ling's resolve to forge ahead felt more tangible than ever, yet the tightrope she walked now felt more precarious. The lines between self-discovery and mentorship intertwined in a dizzying dance. Tomorrow would bring new discussions, fresh insights, and perhaps discomfort. As she tucked Mia into bed, Mei-ling whispered, "Let's talk about what you want too. We're creating our path together." With those words, Mei-ling ignited something deeper. Could this collaborative exploration lead to unearthing unexpected strengths in both of them? The night wrapped around them, heavy with potential. Would their next conversation lead to revelations that intertwined their fates more intricately than ever, or would it expose cracks in the foundation of their relationship? The dawn was coming, and with it, the promise of change. Mei-ling awoke with a jolt, the memories of last night still vivid in her mind. The conversation with Mia had opened a door she had long kept locked, and she could feel the weight of both hope and anxiety pressing upon her shoulders as she prepared for the day. This morning felt different, a new chapter unfurling before her, ripe with possibilities but still draped in uncertainty. The self-imposed pressure to succeed loomed large. Mei-ling had always wanted to be the best, not just for herself, but as a secure foundation for Mia. Yet, the question now gnawed at her. Was she truly building a future together, or was she risking Mia's own dreams in the process? At the breakfast table, she pressed Mia gently. "Are you ready to discuss what you want?" Mia stared at her bowl of cereal as if it held the answers to life's complexities. "I guess, but what if there's no easy answer? Everything worthwhile takes time. Let's explore it together." Mei-ling felt a surge of determination. The instinct to control the narrative had almost led her to set the course unaided by Mia's aspirations. It dawned on her that this was a collaborative journey, one that required vulnerability and mutual understanding. With a deep breath, she leaned closer. "What excites you about your future? What dreams do you have?" As Mia hesitated, Mei Ling observed the expressions that flitted across her face. Excitement, fear, confusion. Gradually, Mia opened up about wanting to explore creative writing instead of law. "I want to tell stories," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "But I didn't think I could do that. It felt like a waste of time when you're striving for something so solid." "That's far from waste," Mei Ling interjected, a new perspective dawning on her. "Your story matters. It's not about abandoning my goals, it's about weaving both our ambitions together." The warmth of connection washed over them, yet a lingering doubt remained in Mei Ling's heart. As they moved through breakfast, she realized they were in a fragile state of negotiation, a space filled with endless potential, yet not without risk. What if this path they were forging meant stepping onto a tightrope of personal attributes and familial expectations? Once the dishes were cleared, Mei Ling proposed an idea. "Let's create a writing project together. It can be a way for us to intertwine our strengths." Mia's eyes widened, cautiously intrigued. "But how?" Mei Ling explained. "You'd write, and I'll help you edit. I may not know much about storytelling, but I can assist in structuring your ideas legally, making them more compelling." A spark of enthusiasm flickered within Mia, and Mei Ling saw the shadows of uncertainty begin to dissipate. "That could work, if we do it together." "Absolutely." Mei Ling felt a surge of excitement. Their collaboration marked a unique chance to birth something new. It was a pivotal moment of growth, not just for Mia but for herself. As the day unwound, they brainstormed topics and plotted narratives, their voices rising in animated discussion, reclaiming the space they had momentarily lost. However, an unsettling twist nagged at the edges of Mei Ling's mind. Despite their camaraderie, she mused over the depths of her own desire for success. Would her newfound mutual focus push her hard-earned dreams to the periphery? That evening, as they stood in front of a blank page, Mei Ling's resolve hardened. She would cultivate her own professional aspirations, but only alongside nurturing Mia's within this new framework. Yet the distinct voices of her ambition and responsibility seemed to whirl in conflict within her. Late into the night, Mei Ling lingered over her legal texts with a relentless pace, scribbling notes and strategies, oblivious to the sanctity of the quiet moments. She discerned the realities of the legal world demanding her attention, and the clock ticked away in sharp staccato. Amidst the chaos of thoughts bouncing in her mind, she was jolted by a sudden realization. Would the more she focused on balancing their growth cause her to lose sight of her own identity in the process? The new day dawned with a peculiar heaviness as Mei Ling braced for the impending revelations. Her determination to grasp the threads of both their futures entwined in public consciousness awaited eager acknowledgement. Tomorrow could spell clarity or further complications. Would the collaborative writing empower them, or would it expose uncomfortable truths that risked the very bond they were striving to mend? As the sun peeked through the curtains, Mei Ling felt a knot of anticipation roil in her stomach. She had spent the night oscillating between excitement for the project with Mia and trepidation about her own professional aspirations. Each tick of the clock reminded her that clarity was just a moment away, yet those moments felt heavy with the potential for upheaval. Sipping her coffee, she cast a glance toward the adjacent table where Mia was buried in a pile of notebooks. The sight stirred something powerful within her. This was not merely about writing. It was a chance to cultivate a new rhythm in their relationship, where presence and purpose fused in unison. Still, Mei Ling struggled to reconcile her motivation with the burden of responsibility that clung to her. After a hurried breakfast, they retreated to the living room, a makeshift workspace now cluttered with notes, themes, and scattered ideas. Mei Ling could sense a bubbling excitement emanating from Mia, an infectious energy that ignited her own desire to foster creativity, a talent she had buried under layers of duty and expectation. "Let's begin with story structures," Mei Ling suggested, channeling her legal expertise into the realm of narrative creation. "Stories need shape, just like cases do. What if we outline the key elements first?" "Right. Characters, setting, conflict." Mia's eyes sparkled. "And the resolution. We need that." As they outlined their project, Mei Ling found herself slipping into a different mindset. The analytical precision with which she dissected legal issues transformed into a more fluid type of analysis, welcoming imagination and innovation. Even as she found this new flow, a voice in the back of her mind continued to question her intentions. If she indulged too heavily in Mia's ambitions, would her professional dreams slip further away? The day unfolded, filled with laughter and shared excitement. Mei Ling's heart swelled each time Mia unveiled an idea. Yet in quieter moments, she grappled with an unsettling realization. Her identity seemed to flicker, shifting between the roles of mother and emerging collaborator, not entirely finding firm footing in either. By the afternoon, they decided to take a break, stepping outside into the sunlight filtering through the trees. Mei Ling leaned against the railing of their balcony, her gaze drifting to the horizon. The world felt expansive, almost impossibly so, but the path she walked felt narrower. It was time to confront the most challenging aspect of this journey, the shadows of her own suppressed aspirations. "What if I want to write too?" she murmured aloud, almost as if the words had escaped against her better judgment. Tilting her head, she glanced at Mia, who looked back with surprise. "Really? I thought you wanted to focus on law," Mia responded, clearly taken aback. "I do, but part of me longs for creativity. If I can encourage you to pursue your dreams, why shouldn't I explore mine?" Mia's expression transformed, her eyebrows knitting together. "Can you do both?" "Maybe it's not about can, but how. The balance creates something new, a tapestry that could weave our lives together instead of separating them further." Mei Ling watched as Mia contemplated the revelation, her fingers drumming softly against the railing. That unease in Mei Ling's heart gradually transformed into a resolve. This collaborative project wasn't solely about nurturing Mia's aspirations. It represented an essential part of her own growth, too. Yet beneath the strong resolve was an undercurrent of fear. What if the exploration revealed uncomfortable truths about her own abilities or ambitions? As dusk began to roll in, casting long shadows across their discussions, Mei Ling turned back to Mia. "How about we write a piece together? A dual narrative of journeys converging and diverging, of exploration and the unknown." Mia brightened, but a flicker of hesitation returned. "What if we don't find a resolution? What if it's messy?" "Messiness is part of life. We'll embrace it," Mei Ling asserted, feeling a thrill pulse through her. Despite the uncertainty, she recognized that the synergy of their voices could birth something extraordinary. As they returned to their workspace, armed with an invigorated sense of purpose, a thought lingered in Mei Ling's mind. Was she ready for the transformation this project promised? And what revelations waited just beneath the surface of creativity? The evening settled into twilight, igniting her resolve to unveil her hidden aspirations. But in that same breath, dread loomed. Would these new truths upend their fragile balance or lead them to the empowerment they both sought? The next morning, Mei Ling awakened with a sense of determination tinged with trepidation. The project loomed over her like an unfinished puzzle, pieces scattered and waiting for the right hand to fit them together. She stared at the ceiling, contemplating how to move forward. This was no longer just Mia's dream. It was a manifestation of their intertwined fates, a tapestry waiting to be woven. After a quick breakfast, she retreated to her desk, determination driving her fingers to type. The words flowed, intertwining her thoughts on law with her burgeoning literary voice. She realized that every argument she constructed as an attorney could be translated into a narrative, layering emotional depth onto structures of legality. Yet, even as she wrote, doubt coiled in her stomach. Was this mere fantasy, or was she brave enough to step fully into this new identity? Her duality of being both a mother and an aspiring writer echoed loudly in her mind. Could she balance the two without sacrifice? The enormity of this question loomed larger as she focused on the digital page. A few hours later, Mei Ling and Mia regrouped at their workspace. Mia's enthusiasm was infectious, her face alight with possibilities, but Mei Ling felt a wave of uncertainty wash over her. What if we approach this from alternating perspectives? Like a dialogue between who we were and who we want to be, she suggested, envisioning the characters wrestling with their pasts, seeking their true selves. Mia's eyes sparkled as she contemplated the concept. Yes, one voice from the past, tethered to reality, and another that dreams beyond the present. Mei Ling's heart surged with excitement, but also dread. As they brainstormed, she couldn't shake the nagging feeling that her exploration might unearth parts of herself she'd long buried. Would revealing her creative side ruin the strong image she'd built as a committed mother and successful attorney? Let's write something now, Mia proposed, pulling Mei Ling from her spiraling thoughts. Mei Ling hesitated. What if I share something that doesn't land? What if I reveal ultimately that I'm not good enough? Mia's expression softened. Mistakes are just stepping stones. Share what's inside you, Mei Ling. The encouragement spurred her as she put pen to paper. The initial lines came hesitantly, but with each word a weight lifted. She delved into the struggles of a character facing external constraints, paralleling her own battle against self-imposed barriers. Hours passed as they worked in intense silence, each lost in their worlds. When they paused at lunch, Mei Ling felt a weight shift. The characters felt real, and their conflicts resonated with her own. Something deeper had emerged, stirring inside her, a faint echo of her true voice beginning to surface. As she gazed at the character she was molding, she smiled at the complexity beneath their flaws and strengths. This is a metaphor for every dream put aside, innately human in its struggle for identity, she mused to Mia. Yes, and it reflects what we're both dealing with. It's messy, but it's also beautiful, Mia replied, her excitement palpable, but the clarity rushed back with brutal intensity. If they continued to shape this narrative of exploration, what might it reveal about her shortcomings? The fear tightened her chest. What if the creative journey brought to light her hidden insecurities, eclipsing the success she had known? Pushing through, Mei Ling resolved to confront those fears directly. If I can voice my struggles through this character, maybe the narrative opens the way for us both, she said resolutely. But I need to be ready for whatever she might teach me. As the sun began its descent, casting golden light through the room, Mei Ling felt a swell of determination to forge ahead. She knew the journey would test every aspect of her identity, all of the roles she inhabited. In that moment, she realized she was no longer merely writing for Mia's dream. She was taking the first steps toward her own renaissance, a bridge between past and future. Yet amidst this budding resolve, a chilling thought emerged. What would happen to the harmony of their creative partnership if the truths revealed through this exploration threatened more than just her ambition? The rhythm of their collaboration felt precariously balanced, and she knew the risk of stumbling into a reality unprepared for its truths. And as she turned back to Mia, a question lingered in the air like a specter. How far was she willing to go in uncovering the hidden parts of herself inherent to this journey? Would the answer lead them closer, or fracture their bond irrevocably? The following day dawned, the warmth of the new sun pressing against Mei Ling's skin with an urgency she had rarely felt. Each ray nudged her toward a resolution she had yet to articulate. As she prepared breakfast, her thoughts were consumed by the emerging narrative, and the bright voice of her character began to eclipse the chatter of morning chores. Her fingers tingled with the memory of writing yesterday. Every character trait she designed reflected a hidden facet of her own identity, and now she couldn't ignore it. Each word felt like both a catharsis and a confrontation. She put down her utensils, and for a moment she considered the silence of the house. It was a familiar comfort, yet today it felt suffocating. She craved the release that came from embracing her voice fully. After breakfast, she settled at her desk, but the pulse of her heartbeat distracted her. What if she wrote a passage about fear, how her character, like herself, hid behind a facade of responsibility? Could she articulate the struggle of stepping into the unknown while building a pathway of dreams? The idea gripped her, igniting her determination even further. With an unwavering focus, Mei Ling began crafting a poignant scene. Her character faced a significant choice, tethered to the past, yet longing to leap into the future. The ink flowed, and with it, emerged a deeper understanding that each word echoed her journey, a fight against the oppressive narratives she had carried all her life, sometimes as an attorney, often as a mother, and now as a writer. As the characters clashed on the page, so did Mei Ling's own internal battles. "This is just the beginning," she whispered to herself, sensing that every doubt she laid bare would resonate with the shared experience of many women forced to reconcile their ambitions with their responsibilities. Mia arrived shortly after, her face alight with energy. "I've been thinking, we should explore the flaws of our characters more deeply. They can't just be vehicles for our dreams. They need to feel authentic." Mei Ling nodded, a smile breaking her concentrated demeanor. Yes, they must struggle, face their fears directly. Mia leaned closer. "And we should let them fail too. It's through failure that they'll grow. What if we show their dreams slipping away, forcing them to confront their hearts?" The excitement surged within Mei Ling. Every turn of the plot felt like a decision in her life, an opportunity to examine both triumphs and defeats. But as the conversation deepened, her heart raced at the implications. Would showing the raw truth fracture the illusion of control she had meticulously built? And yet there was a gnawing realization. She was already stepping into the abyss. Each character's journey was intertwined with her own. This exploration could either be a mirror reflecting her struggles, or a facade employing creativity to hide her vulnerabilities. With each potential scene discussed, the fear of exposure loomed. "Let's commit to this," she declared, surprising even herself. "Let's be brave enough to show the full complexity, even if it's uncomfortable." Mia's face brightened. "That's the spirit. Authenticity can sometimes lead to the most powerful stories." As they dove into their respective writing, Mei Ling sensed a torrent of fear at the pit of her stomach, a tumultuous mix of vulnerability and resolve. It felt like diving into icy water, shocking at first but invigorating, pushing her to fight through the initial shock. Yet, as she poured her soul onto the page, a question flickered in her mind. If she truly portrayed the plights and failures of her character, would she also bring her own buried anxieties to surface? Would she find clarity, or be consumed by the very flaws she sought to explore? The shadows of self-doubt lingered just out of reach, ominously hinting that what emerged next could change not only her story, but also her real-world relationships, especially with Mia. As the words flowed, Mei Ling stood on the brink, daring to confront what lay beyond, but terrified that the journey might unravel everything she had worked for. And there it was, pulsing in her mind, a challenge that awaited her. How far could she go with her character before it began to unravel the fabric of her life? The tension tightened as she continued to write, urging her to venture deeper or retreat altogether. But Mei Ling knew that facing the fear resonated more deeply than anything else, and perhaps in that confrontation lay the key to her evolution. Outside, the sun hung low in the sky, a fading reminder that truth, though hard to grasp, often shines through the darkest characters, illuminating the way for those brave enough to follow. As the days melted into weeks, the project between Mei Ling and Mia had transformed into something far more profound than either could have imagined. The narrative bloomed with vivid characters wrestling with insecurities and aspirations that mirrored their own lives. Each session spent crafting their story wove a tighter bond between them, revealing layers of understanding that transcended mere words. Mei Ling realized that her journey into the world of writing opened a door she had unwittingly left ajar. As she ventured into the complexities of her character's struggles, she unearthed her own fears about succeeding in law, while nurturing the motherly instincts that tugged at her heart. This dual involvement fueled not just their storytelling, but also a growing emotional fulcrum of support, illuminating the darkness that had once isolated them. One evening they took a break from writing and sat on the balcony. The city twinkled beneath their feet as the sun dipped below the horizon, a contrast to the looming choices Mei Ling faced. "Mia," she began, her voice steady, "this project brings out so much of what we both fear and want. I think we've created something real, but there's something I need to confess." Mia turned toward her with a look of encouragement. "What is it?" "I've been holding on to a fear that my journey into law might overshadow yours. I realized I can chase my dreams without losing you in the process. I don't have to choose one path over the other. We can build our futures side by side." The moment hung in the air like a tense string ready to snap. Mei Ling held her breath, wondering if this revelation would fortify their connection or shatter it into fragments of misunderstandings. Mia's expression softened, her eyes shimmering. "I thought I had to choose between my writing and supporting you. I didn't realize we could be strong together." The heavy weight of tension dissolved as they both silently acknowledged the metamorphosis happening within. Mei Ling could feel a life cycle of maternal fulfillment intertwining with the blooming independence of her daughter. They were no longer an artist and her muse, but two creators navigating their personal narratives, intertwining stories that were uniquely theirs. As they returned to their writing, Mei Ling embraced the flow of creativity more boldly, capturing not only the struggles of her character, but the triumphs that came with fearlessness. As words poured from her fingertips like water breaking free from a dam, she embraced the notion of shared journey, both within the story and in their lives. With every keystroke she was propelled forward into the realm of self-acceptance, past the oppressive strictures she had long enforced upon herself. The competing pressures of being a diligent mother and a devoted career woman began to fade, replaced with a newfound confidence in both roles. Weeks later, with their narrative complete, the moment of sharing their project arrived, an unveiling that bore the weight of anticipation. At a small gathering with friends, Mei Ling read excerpts from their joint effort, her voice steady and bright as she spoke. The audience leaned in, captivated by the intertwining lives portrayed on the pages. When applause erupted around her, Mei Ling's heart swelled. It was more than just validation for her skills as a writer. It marked the character arc she had conquered, a completion of the journey that demonstrated her growth, her commitment to be both mother and trailblazer. Her story, and Mia's, had morphed into a narrative of resilience, interspersed with dreams lost and regained. "I never thought that we could both chase our dreams at once," Mia whispered with a grin afterward, her eyes gleaming with pride. "Yes, my love. We have crafted our legacies together," Mei Ling returned softly, every word echoing with significance. In embracing the intertwining narratives of their lives, she felt a reassuring enlightenment wash over her. The satisfaction of achieving in both legal pursuits and creative endeavors transformed her sense of self. The collage of roles she now inhabited coalesced into a powerful identity that was uniquely hers, fulfilling on multiple levels. With a profound sense of achievement, Mei Ling stood a little taller that day, confident that her journey had indeed transformed. Not solely her career, but the way she perceived motherhood and success. The challenges she confronted had cultivated resilience, and her accomplishments were now shared with Mia, who blossomed in her own right, freighting their relationship with cherished memories and stories waiting to be told. As the evening fell softly around them, Mei Ling looked at Mia, bursting with excitement for what lay ahead. "Let's keep writing our story," she proposed, her heart swelling with possibility. "Oh, we will, Mama. We will," Mia responded, and together, they crossed the threshold into an unwritten future. Two passionate souls, ready to navigate the world with a beauty that resided in both their shared fears and dreams. This was their moment. As the pages turned, one thing was certain. They had created not just a narrative but an unbreakable bond, an achievement forged in understanding against the tumult of life's trials. You need to subscribe now for more inspiring stories that touch the heart and empower the soul. This is the moment to show your support and dive deeper into transformations that matter. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more hearts just like yours. Comment with your reactions and theories about this incredible conclusion, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how overcoming obstacles can lead to fulfilling life stories. Don't wait even one more second to share. Your voice matters.